Warm greetings to all. Today we are going to discuss about transient overvoltages. This is the presentation outline. We will be starting with the introduction for the transient overvoltage, then the causes. We will be seeing capacitor switching and lightning. Then we will be discussing about the principles of overvoltage protection. Then the devices that we are using for overvoltage protection. Then some computer tools for analyzing the transients. Transient overvoltage. Transient overvoltage are surges that can reach high magnitude of current, voltage, or even both, with the duration of microseconds, which are destructive. Okay, so microseconds, it is very short duration, but it may lead to serious problems for the equipments connected to that line. It can cause premature aging to the destruction. Okay, premature aging in the sense, if you buy a new equipment, because of the transient overvoltage, it appears like an old one, and sometimes because of transient it may be destroyed, and that leads to the financial losses. Causes of transient overvoltages. There are two main sources that cause the transient overvoltages to occur. The common sources are capacitor switching, and the second one is lightning. The capacitor switching leads to oscillatory transient, which we will see in the upcoming slides, and similarly the lightning leads to impulsive transient. Okay, generally oscillatory transient means it occurs for some duration of time. Impulsive transient means at that instant it will occur and it will affect the system. Okay, the other sources for transient overvoltage is due to the use of power electronic devices. Okay, the transient overvoltages can also be high frequency transient overvoltage, medium frequency transient overvoltage, and then low frequency transient overvoltage. Power utilities normally use capacitor bank in the distribution line in order to improve the power factor. Okay, and the capacitor banks improve the power factor by decreasing the amount of reactive power consumption. Okay, this normally reduces the loss and it supports the voltage of the system. Okay, it has to deal with the power triangle. So we know that when we deal with power, real power is there, reactive power is there, and apparent power is there. Okay, real power is the actual power generated, and reactive power is an unavoidable power because of the usage of inductive and capacitive loads. Okay, most of the loads are inductive in nature, so that inductive loads leads to a lagging power factor. Okay, so in order to compensate, we are using capacitors that actually provides leading power factor. Okay, so that is why the capacitor banks are installed in most of the power utilities. In most of the industries, they are also using capacitor banks to improve the power factor. And let's see the power triangle to understand the power factor and the compensation of reactive power. Okay, so this is the power triangle with three sides. This capital P represents the real power, this capital Q represents the reactive power, this capital S represents the apparent power. Apparent power is nothing but the total power. Okay, all right, so as per the definition, this is theta, therefore the cos theta is equal to real power over apparent power. Okay, so apparent power is nothing but real power plus reactive power. Okay, so here it is real power, and in the denominator it is real power plus reactive power. So if the reactive power is zero, then what we have is real power over real power, so the cos theta will be 1. So that is the condition we need, but practically it is not possible because of the availability or usage of inductive and capacitive loads. Okay, but we are trying much to compensate the reactive power, okay, by adding the capacitor bank, because in the power system most of the loads are inductive in nature. Okay, so the capacitive loads are minimum, therefore we are adding capacitive loads to compensate and to bring the unity power factor. Okay, bringing the unity power factor means mathematically we are saying that the power generator is totally consumed, okay, or totally utilized, there is no loss. The capacitor switching is oscillatory in nature, okay, and in order to determine the capacitor switching there are various parameters like time, temperature, voltage, current, reactive power. Okay, using these various parameters we can determine that the oscillatory transient is because of capacitor switching. Okay, normally some utilities they may use certain time to switch on the capacitor bank. Okay, so that time we can determine that oscillatory transient in the system. Okay, so and similarly the temperature will also rise up, and similarly with the help of voltage, current, and by measuring the reactive power we can say that this oscillatory transient is because of the capacitor bank. Consider the one line diagram. This is the generating station and this is the substation and this is the monitoring location. So here we are going to monitor the system parameters, and this is the feeder impedance which is to be considered for the power system, and this is the capacitor bank. Okay, and this is the switching activities. So here we are going to switch on or switch off the capacitor bank. All right, so if you close the capacitor at a point near the system voltage peak. System voltage peak in the sense, you see, we are having a sinusoidal voltage. So that varies. This is the zero. That varies from negative peak to positive peak. Okay, and here is the zero voltage. Okay, and unfortunately, when you switch on the voltage, when you switch on the capacitor bank, the voltage is peak. Okay, the voltage is at the peak, that is 100. That means if you switch on at that point the consequence will be higher. Okay, normally it is better to switch on the capacitor when it is zero. Okay, so that it will not affect the power system. If you switch at the peak voltage it will affect the power system. Okay, so that is what happening here. Okay, so if you switch on the capacitor bank at the peak voltage, the insulation may fail and it may lead to breakdown and associated issues. Okay, so that is what we are explaining here. Okay, so it is better to switch on the capacitor bank when the voltage is zero. Okay, to reduce the oscillatory transient. Okay, and the importance of switching the capacitor bank is to compensate the reactive power. So here you can see the two figure. This is the power triangle, and P is the real power, Q is the reactive power, and S is the apparent power. So here you can see before adding the capacitor bank, that is when the capacitor bank is off. Okay, you can see the reactive power of 1.7 kilo var. Okay, kilo var, kVAR. Okay, but after adding the capacitor you can see it is in var, it is not in kilo var, it is very small. Okay, practically it is very difficult to make it zero. So it is in the range of var, not in the range of kilo var. Okay, so we have compensated the reactive power so that the power factor is nearly unity. Okay, is nearly unity. So that is the purpose of adding the capacitor bank. And while adding the capacitor bank, it is better to add, or it is better to switch on the capacitor bank at zero. Okay, we should not uh, add the capacitor bank, or we should not switch on the capacitor bank at the peak voltage. Generally, the transient voltage is between 1 to 2 per unit. That depends on the system damping. So in this one line diagram, the transient voltage is observed up to 134 percentage, 134 percentage. So that is it. Therefore, it is represented as 1.34 per unit. Okay, so in this case, it is 134 percentage. Okay, and here you can see the current. The current is nearly 4 times the normal current. Okay, so here you can see the normal current is 100 amps, but because of capacitor switching at peak voltage, it goes up to 400 amps. Okay, so that is also undesirable. Okay, and these sometimes it may pass through the distribution transformer and it reaches the customer facilities and it affects the load. Lightning over voltage is a transient over voltage which is caused by the natural phenomena of lightning, and that also has a high magnitude of voltage, current, or both voltage and current, which is destructive in nature. But this lightning transient is impulsive lightning transient, whereas the capacitive switching is oscillatory in nature. Okay, so in our power system, most of the distribution lines are not shielded. Okay, because it will be at greater height and the chance for accident is very low. So therefore, in general, the distribution lines are not shielded. So lightning flashover may be caused by the lightning strokes on the conductor, and because of this, the induced surge current can travel through the conductor and it may reach the customer end and it may affect all the major equipment. So here in this picture you can see that the lightning strikes the tall part of the system, which may be a transmission lines or distribution lines, sometimes the telecom broadcasting tower. So it may strike those part and the surge current may travel through the conductors and it may pass all the protective equipments and it may damage the customer end. Okay, so that is the effect of the lightning over voltage. Okay, so many investigators claims that lightning surges enter the load from the utility system through interwinding capacitance of the service transformer. Consider the figure. Consider the figure. This is the service transformer which has primary winding and the secondary winding. Assume that the lightning strikes the primary winding and there is an existence of the capacitor. You can see here in between the primary and secondary winding there is a chance of a capacitor action, and similarly there is a chance for the capacitor action from the primary winding to the ground and the secondary winding to the ground. Okay, so these are the chances that the lightning stroke can pass through. Okay, and the concept is that the lightning impulse is so fast, it is very fast, that the inductance of the transformer winding can block only the first part. Here you can see it can block only the first part. The remaining part, that is the remaining part like this second part can pass through the transformer because of the capacitor action. Okay, because of the capacitor action. Okay, so this interwinding capacitance, this is called as interwinding capacitance, and through this interwinding capacitance the second portion of the lightning surge can pass through the secondary terminal and it can reach the customers or the loads. Okay, So that is the investigation, that is the research output of the investigation. The degree to which the capacitor coupling occurs depends on the design of the transformer. Okay, for example, the winding to ground capacitance may be greater than the winding to winding capacitance. So if there is a capacitance here, then it is called winding to winding capacitance. If the capacitance is between the winding and the ground, then it is called as winding to ground capacitance. Okay, sometimes the lightning which strikes the primary winding, that is the primary side of the transformer, may pass through the ground and it may lead to some oscillatory transient. Okay, that oscillatory transient is because due to the flow through the grounding system. Okay, ideas about lightning are changing with the recent research. Okay, there are more evidence that are mounted that lightning stroke current waveforms are faster than previously thought. Okay, and lightning also causes more flashover of utility lines than previously thought. So these recent research findings may help to explain failures of lightning arresters that were thought to have adequate capacity to handle large lightning strokes. Okay, so with the recent research, you see there are many routes to enter into the customer, and that leads to the passage of the surge current caused by the lightning over voltage. Principles of over voltage protection. So the fundamental principles of over voltage protection of load equipment are to limit the voltage across the sensitive insulation. Okay, we can reduce the voltage level, and then to divert the surge current away from the load. Okay, if there is any surge current, it can be diverted from the load. Maybe it can be grounded. Okay, the next one is the block. Next one is, what is that? Block the surge current from entering the load, right? So we can block the surge current. Then we can also bond the grounds together at the equipment end, right? Then you can reduce or prevent the surge current from flowing between the grounds, because that also leads or affect the equipment. Then finally, you can create some equipment like low pass filter using the limiting and blocking principles as we discussed to avoid the over voltage. Based on the principles of over voltage protection, a low pass filter equipment has been designed by incorporating the surge arresters, by including the surge arresters. Okay, so this V1, this is the first arrestor and this is the second arrestor, and this is the line impedance, and this first arrestor is connected between the line and it ends at the neutral. Okay, so line to neutral bond is there. So this arrestor, this surge arrestor limits the line voltage V1 from rising to very high magnitude. Okay, when it performs this voltage limiting action, it provides low impedance path for the surge currents to travel to the ground. Okay, so in this scenario, most of the surge energy will be discharged through the first arrestor, and hence this arrestor can be called as surge diverter. Okay, and because of its low limiting action, which offers a low impedance path to the ground. Okay, so the first surge arrestor can be called as surge diverter because of its function. And the first arrestor is located at a far distance from the load. Okay, so therefore it is also suggested to add another arrestor near the load side. Therefore the second arrestor is applied at the load side. Okay, and that arrestor is connected between the line and the neutral. Okay, but not connected to the ground. Okay, so in order to protect the sensitive loads. So here you can locate another possible path for the surge current. Okay, so that is a cable connected between connected to the ground. Okay, so if this cable, using this cable, if you connect another device, it may damage that equipment. So the best location to place the arrestor is inside the load device. For example, many electronic control made for service in the power system environment have protectors like metal oxide varistor, arrestors, zener diodes, surge capacitance on every line that leaves the cabinet. Okay, so nowadays most of the bigger components have their surge protective device inside the equipment. So thank you. In the next video, we will discuss about the devices for the over voltage protection and the computer tools for analyzing the transients.